Howdy, partners. Reckon it might be time to talk me some Westworld. And I apologise for the accent. My name is Rob Edwards. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And today, because we've hit the midpoint of Season 3 of Westworld, it's time, I think, to talk about the show. And why I'm really not enjoying it this season. Before I get into that, I suppose I should talk a little bit about Westworld Seasons 1 and 2. This is one of those shows which is rife with puzzles and reveals and secrets, and just generally I am going to be talking pretty freely about Westworld Seasons 1, 2 and the first half of Season 3. So if you're not up to date on those, I think it's probably worth your while to go off and look at those before you listen to me talk about them. Because honestly, their reveals are better than I'm going to do during this. I loved Season 1 of Westworld. I thought it was really clever. I liked a lot of the characters. The puzzle was interesting. The reveal that we were in different timelines hit at just the right moment to really appreciate what was going on. And some brilliant acting. I mean, anything which got Anthony Hopkins in it is on to a winner right there. And I remember watching Season 1 and really kind of puzzling it out with my wife. We're catching up on YouTube videos and theories and all of that good stuff, and really got into Season 1. Thought it was amazing, really enjoyed it. Series 2 was a bit of a mess on the whole. It lost some of the characters that we liked, and kind of broke some of the others. My favourite characters in Season 1, actually there are probably too many to list, and probably more than I remember the names of, if I'm honest. But certainly Dolores was a favourite character of mine in Season 1. Certainly Teddy was an interesting character. William and the Man in Black were interesting characters. And in Season 2, most of them kind of got twisted to the point where I was no longer enjoying them or their narratives. And throughout that, against that, we had Bernard and Maeve as characters that I really enjoyed and really enjoyed watching their stories. And in Season 1, Maeve was amazing. In Season 2, she was powerful. And for Bernard, it was a question of Season 1 being shocking and Season 2 being, we really felt for what he was going through. And if the end of Season 2 was a little bit weird, I guess we kind of expected that. And then we got into Season 3 and we saw at the end of Season 2 where Season 3 was going to go. Season 3 was going to take us at last into the real world, and I confess I had some nerves about that. Because I thought what made Westworld special was the interaction of hosts and guests and the mysteries involved around with that. And I thought that once we got into the real world, we would kind of have to forego some of those mysteries. And I have to say that on the whole, I think my fears have been borne out. The real world is far less interesting than we've got from the parks. And, I get it. There wasn't much more you could do in the parks and take the story forward. If you'd stayed in the park, it would have been retreading all the stuff they've done in Season 1 and Season 2, and nobody wanted that. But I have to say, 5 episodes into Season 3, I'm finding it really hard to connect with the story of the real world. Now, is it suddenly... actually, I'm doing air quotes there. Is it suddenly going to reveal the real world isn't the real world? I think not. I think that would be a twist too far. So, I don't really care about the characters that are in the real world, because they're not the characters we grew up with in seasons 1 and season 2. Who do we have left from seasons 1 and season 2 that were main characters? We've got Dolores, we've got Maeve, we've got Bernard, we've got Security Hemsworth, whose name I've completely forgotten, and that's kind of... we've seen briefly the Man in Black, and we've seen Hale, is it? Sort of her. And Dolores remains completely unlikable. I'm just not behind her ambitions. I don't get her goals. They're not ones that I really support. I still cast her. I mean, I think I know that towards the end of season 3 we are really going to get to understand more about Sirach and how much of a bad guy he is. We saw a little bit of that this week. But it's still hard for me to get behind the idea that Dolores is anything but an antagonist in this series. And not least because the only character that I still have from the early seasons that I still enjoy any time that she's on the screen is Maeve. And I don't know, the only episode honestly, the only episode of season 3 that I really enjoyed was the Maeve episode. Was the episode where she was still in a simulation, where she was in World, yes. And then we briefly had the cameo of Westworld, which I liked. I thought was quite funny. And then we revealed that she kind of got to the real world eventually. And I really like that. That was the one episode I was sat there going, right, okay, we've got a promising issue here. We've got a way forward. We're totally into this. Let's see Maeve kicking some ass, and it's all going to be about Maeve versus Dolores, and that's going to be great. But that really hasn't materialised. I mean, it still may be what the end of the season is all going to be about, and that will be fantastic. I actually suspect the end of the season is more likely to be Maeve and Dolores teaming up against Sirach, but that's that really. Essentially, we have got a new season with almost an entirely new cast. Even some of the cast that we have are playing different characters than before. A super spoiler here, if you've not caught up with season 3 so far, please don't listen to this bit. But the idea that Dolores copied herself into the various different hosts that she took out of the camp park was not surprising, honestly, given that we'd seen how she'd found even her most trusted advisors had betrayed her. I mean, even Teddy had betrayed her in season 2. I'd kind of thought that that's what was happening. So when they went, oh my God, there's 5 Doloreses, I kind of went, yeah, there are. I don't like the first one, so I'm not really committed to any of the other 4 either. So, and I'm not sure that I get much of a Dolores vibe from the other Dolori. Dolorians? Doloreses is. I like Dolori. So the various Dolori, Hale Dolori is clearly breaking. But again, inconsistently, because we saw one episode where she was totally, scarring herself just because she couldn't quite cope with the idea of her identity in a different body and trying to play Hale, but then trying to maintain who she really was. And then the real Dolores said, get a grip, and that seems to have stopped. So the new human character, I mean, he's fine. The human characters following Dolores around. I haven't learned any of their names, you can tell. He's fine. He's all right. He's not remarkable. I don't like him particularly. He's there to show that the system in the real world is broken. and that at least some of what Dolores is doing could be justified from, pro-human stance as well as pro-host stance. But, I mean, it's a bit of a non-entity, really. I just, there's nothing about him and his character that I can really glom onto that I really appreciate. His various criminal cohorts and associates, unremarkable, unremembered. And the rich guy that Dolores is kidnapped to get all of the codes and access to Rehoboam, whatever his name is, a non-entity as well. Essentially, I have been, I'll be honest, kind of bored with season 3, with the exception of the one rather excellent Maeve episode. And I need more Maeve in my season 3. We have not got enough of her. I don't believe for a second that she's dead. Oh, and that's another thing. The inconsistencies of how vulnerable hosts are. We've seen Dolores get shot significantly twice. One time it seemed that she was dying. Another time she seems largely to ignore it. Why did they build hosts that were so fragile? I don't get that. These hosts in the parks were, mistreated and abused physically, and I don't understand why they are so vulnerable to getting stabbed or shot in the stomach. I don't see why they should be affected by that at all. We saw when Maeve was escaping and she got control over that one robot that carried her Pearl out, that it took a lot of shooting to kill it, and I don't understand why that's not true of all hosts. So, the fact that Maeve got stabbed by Samurai Dolores I don't know why it should bother Maeve particularly, but apparently it did, which is weird. And that was a many vats of host making liquid, wasn't it, that Dolores Samurai had? So they're clearly building an army of some sort. I can barely work up any interest in the overarching plot of this season. I'm going to keep watching. Because I do enjoy Maeve so much. And I'm hoping that we get some really kick-ass reveals later in the season, because that's always been the strength of this show. To pull the rug out from under us and go, aha, you thought this, maybe it's this instead. And maybe that's what we're going to get. Maybe we will see some of that. But right now, Season 3 of Westworld is not working for me. Are you watching still? What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. That's it from me today. I will probably revisit Westworld at the end of the season. I'm not going to be making weekly videos on Westworld. But thanks for watching. And if you want to see more about me as a writer, there's a box there. And other nerd stuff, box here. Marvellous. Subscribe too. Great. Cheers. Bye.